welcome to this I guess is our 11th annual meeting, all right, because we were founded in October of 2004, right, so we didn't have an annual meeting that year, so this is our 11th one. All right, that's Lawrence Community. I'm, by the way, Jim Ross, president of the board, and this is Lawrence Community Access Television, and it's our annual meeting. And a little outline of what we're going to do. First of all, we're going to, and the real important thing that we're going to do is elect or re-elect officers. All right, then we're going to discuss what PEG channels are. It's surprising that a lot of people do not know that what PEG channels are, and that there are 3 of them in the city of Lawrence. Then we're going to talk about Lawrence Community Access as an organization. We'll go through the current board members and the staff, tell you a little bit about them, the capabilities of the facility, what we can do, a brief summary of what we have done for the last year, our training, where our funding, where the money comes from to operate all this, and the estimated income and expenditures for 2016. All right, and the reason it's estimated, of course, is because we haven't finished 2016 yet. Who can use the LCAT facilities and equipment? How our programs get to you. In other words, we broadcast from here, and it goes out into Comcast and Verizon, and eventually to wherever you are at home. Plans for the upcoming year, and question and answers at the end, but don't be bashful if you want to ask a question in the middle somewhere, somebody say something and you want to know more about it, be free to ask. All right? So, the first thing on the agenda was the election of board members. We have our election committee back here is Susan and Joe, and the 3 members are up for renewal of their board is myself, Mike Gary, who isn't here, and JT. Susan?
I'd like to make a motion that we, the nominating committee, we've met several times and exhausted ourselves. And I'd like to make a motion that we accept the nominees as stated.
Well, you have to handle the whole thing because
All right, stand tall, man. Who's doing it?
We made the motion, so now.
Who'll second?
Yeah.
Who will second? Anybody?
Yeah.
I second.
Okay. Okay.
This is a motion to renew?
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha, the officer's time. And what's the expiration term? So it's 2 years?
Yeah, 2 years.
Roger that.
The motion was made and seconded. All those in favor?
Any opposed? Motion is passed unanimously.
Okay, so now then I can carry on, right?
Next.
It's not cool, because I was about to fire James, man.
All right, PEG channels. How many knows what the PEG channels are? All right, they're the public education and government channels, right? We have all 3 in Lawrence. The public channel is us, that's what LCAT runs, all right, and we're on Verizon 40 and Comcast Channel 8. The educational channel, which is run by the school department, is Verizon 41 and Comcast 99. They used to be Comcast 10 when they first started out, but somebody decided they wanted Channel 10, and so they had to move the school department up to 99. And then there is the government channel, all right, which is on Verizon 42 and Comcast 22. And that's sort of run by the city council, who does all the programming and schedules everything, what it does, and hires a couple of the people to do the videoing and do all the necessary work for the broadcast. All right, we, LCAT, Lawrence Community Access Television, is responsible for all the equipment. If the equipment goes down, we get it repaired. If they need new equipment, we pay for that and get it installed and so forth. So that's sort of a combined effort, right? The PEG channels are not mandated by the federal government. In other words, there's nothing in the federal and the FCC rules that says there has to be PEG channels. But rather, what they did is they give the right to the franchising authority, which may either choose to have PEG channels or not to have PEG channels. In all probability, the the issuing authority will always have some PEG channels.
And that is you.
Hmm?
And that is you.
No, the issuing authority is not me.
The franchise authority again?
The franchising authority or issuing authority, all right? It's normally referred to as the issuing authority or franchise authority. And if you go back and you look at what that means, in some cases it means the state, right? And in some cases it means the mayor of Lawrence, in our case, right? And it depends on who you're talking to and where you're coming from, or who's who. But normally we refer to the mayor of Lawrence as the issuing authority. Okay, any other questions? But so we're the public part of it. All right. I always put this one in because ever since the day we opened the doors, there have been some people who wanted to use this for their own benefit, right? Either to make money or whatever. But Lawrence is a 501c3 charitable organization that was organized for the purpose of operating, maintaining, and managing the public and government channels. We take care of the hardware. Access facilities in the city of Lawrence, Massachusetts. We were incorporated on October 25th, 2004. This is the section I always like to put in because this is what the IRS says a 501c3 is for and who can profit from it, which is nobody, right? But as I mentioned before, ever since we opened the door, we've always had somebody that wanted to come in, use the facilities for their own benefit or for a profit, right? And we keep having to sort of watch that, right? Because if we let that happen, we're basically at fault. I won't read the whole thing to you. You got it in front of you. Board members, our current board members, are all volunteer, non-compensated. I'm the president, all right? And since I just was reelected, my term expires in 2008. Susan Dowd, all right, is our secretary. Susan was sort of semi-retired school teacher. And when she was a full-blown school teacher, I think she had her children put together a video, and you got some sort of an award for that, didn't you?
From Comcast.
Yeah, from Comcast, all right? So, Mike Garrity is one of the founding members of the organization. He's our treasurer. He's not here this evening. He was a police officer in New York City. He was a special, I don't know what to call him now, but he worked for the Lawrence Police Department also after he retired from New York. Nicholas Gonzalez is our vice president. And Mike, going back to Mike, Mike is, like I say, one of our oldest board members, right? He was here when we were founded. Nicholas Gonzalez is our vice president. Nick, here. And it's Reverend Nick. And he does a show of his own. Fran Acosta, he's one of the directors, and he's made a newspaper several times in the last month or so. All right. JT is our director. He's also the founder of a nonprofit. Let me see if I can get this right. Northeastern Veterans Liberty House.
Quit while you were ahead.
Okay.
Children's Veterans Liberty House.
All right.
Thank you, though.
New England Veterans at Liberty House. And Joe Bell. Joe is one of our newer board members. Probably everybody knows Joe because Joe is involved in everything. He was a board member for the Lawrence History Center. He's the president of the Lawrence Heritage State Park Friends. And what else do you do, Joe, besides collect things?
He's all over the place.
All over the place.
It is.
Our staff, Jenny Alexander, is our executive director. Who? Jenny has a degree in photography. She's been working for us for almost 12 years, not quite. Before that, she was working for Comcast. We stole her away from Comcast. She was running Comcast Public Access Studios. And before that, I think she started all this as a volunteer, right? As a volunteer in Woburn? Okay. So you must have at least 20 years of experience in all this, right? Altamar Melendez is one of those guys. He's our assistant. He's one of those guys that's only 20 years old and got 100 years of experience, right? You came from, where did we steal you from? Univision, all right? He was working for Univision, all right? He has his degree in computer science and working on your master's degree, right? Okay. Mary Jane Kowalski, we very seldom see Mary Jane. She works part-time, and she does the city council meetings at City Hall, right? And Mary Jane has been doing that for at least 20 years. Right. And she also teaches media at Lawrence High School. Janice is one of our part-time employees, and she's been with us, I don't know how long, quite a while, right? And she also does her own programming, right? Her own program outside of her time that she's working for us. Domingo, I don't know what I can say about Domingo. He's back there waving at me. Domingo is the master of all trades, right? we basically brought him on to keep the place straightened out and cleaned up and so forth. And in the meantime, he's learned to run all the cameras, the studio equipment. He produces his own shows, basically, does a little bit of editing now and then. And Jenny wouldn't be able to get along without him. And then we have Daniel. Daniel has only been with us for less than a year. He has a doctorate, but not a doctorate, master's degree in computer science, all right? And he's not here tonight either. It's a holiday time for him. So that's our staff.
He's also the founder.
Oh, yeah. Daniel, he's also the founder of a nonprofit called Asperger. Yeah. What did you make? You must mess me up. It's yeah.
Asperger's Works.
Yeah. Asperger's Works. All right, our capabilities. All of our video and audio and so forth that produced is here is high def and digital until it goes out the door. Everything that we do internally is high definition and digital. We cablecast on Comcast 8 and Verizon 40. You can watch on our website. You can watch whatever is being shown at the time, whatever's scheduled. There's also a link to YouTube, and you can watch on your mobile device, this stupid phone that I have here. Right?
Yeah, well, I'm copying into it now.
We have video on demand where if you go to our website, you can actually go into our computer system and pull up certain videos and watch them no matter when they're scheduled. We also have an emergency crawl system that we can put up where we can put up bulletins and a little crawl that runs across the bottom of the screen. It's aggravating. All right, we don't use it very often. We do use it occasionally when there's bad weather or heat or whatever. because I think it's just a nuisance, that crawl bothers me. I hate this when they're doing that, they're trying to give me the news, and then while they're talking to me about the news, this little crawl's going across the bottom, so we don't use it very often. We can also broadcast live from anywhere, and we don't do that very often, primarily because it takes a lot of manpower here in the studio and on site and so forth. So we've got that possibility of broadcasting live, but we don't only use that for emergency services. Like when the May floods we had back a few years ago, if that was going on right now, we probably would be out doing live broadcast. Right? The studio is available 40 hours a week. The studio hours are Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. And we can program and fix some problems remotely. And anyway, if Altamar has internet access from anywhere in the world, he can come in and fix some of the problems and change some of the programming and so forth. So if we had a big snowstorm, we could still do programming as long as the power was on and everything was working.
Can I go back? So this studio could actually do live recordings, and it's just because you don't have enough staff here to be able to run that?
Yeah, we have enough staff to do it, but we'd have to have everybody involved.
Everybody has to be on.
Yeah, and it's a little bit tricky because of the timing and so forth, right?
Gotcha.
But we can do it. If we had an emergency, if we had an earthquake or a tornado or a hurricane coming to hit Lawrence, we could go out and do live,
Roger.
right? Accomplishment for the year, we provided training for 10 individuals, and basically in everything that's in here, at least an introduction to it, right? We had scheduled shows from the 1st of October 2015 to the 1st of October 2016, and that's a typo, right? It's 15 to 2016. The scheduled shows we scheduled shows from 7 a.m. to about 12:30, so that means if the show's scheduled to come on at 12:30, it's an hour long. We're actually on the air until 1:30, right? We did 1,882 shows for 1,298 hours of video for the year. The average length of the shows were 41 minutes. The total runs, this is because the show doesn't run just one time, total runs were 15,935, which equaled 6,068 hours of airtime that we broadcast. And that does not include the bulletin board or the schedule that we put up, because in between shows we put up a bulletin board and also the schedule time, whatever is being scheduled. All right, I just pulled up the top 20 producers, right, of all those shows. And it's, in a total, the 48 producers produced 922 shows from October the 1st to October the 1st, 2016. The top 20 producers are here, and they produced 822 of those shows. And that's all the top producers we have up there.
Hello.
Come on in. All right, our training is broken down like this. We have an introduction to the Lawrence Studio and our policies and procedures, so that anybody coming in to use the studio knows basically what it is all about and what procedures and policies that we have. Also, there's courses on using field cameras and accessories, studio cameras, getting acquainted with the control room, lighting for the field, scripting, basic audio for the field and the studio productions, and editing for the beginner Final Cut X. Right. And these are all basically all very fundamental introduction courses. right, which it really doesn't end there, because obviously there's not enough in those courses, not enough time spent for you to become really proficient, like for instance Final Cut X, right? But that doesn't mean that if you come in and want to do a show, you've been through all the training and everything, and if you need help with running with the cameras, the control room, or doing production, one of the staff will help you, right? The training is all taught by studio personnel and visiting teachers who work in the television industry, right? So they know basically what they're doing. The classes are in English, and class tuition is $40 per individual, right? Which is not much when you take a look at some of the other studios, right? Some of the other studios are doing is charge you for each one of those things that are listed up there, right? $25 or $30, right? And you have to become a member before you can attend a class. So there's a membership fee on top of the training fees. People say, well, you know, like, why are you charging? Geez, you're being funded by Comcast and Verizon, so why are you charging? Well, it's not really fair for the subscribers to Comcast and Verizon, right, to pay for training of somebody who doesn't subscribe to either one of them, right? So we charge them a minimum of $40, right? It's a very small fee. The funding for the PEG channels, those 3 channels, right? The maximum funding is set by the FCC and the state, right, to 5% of the cable company's television revenue, gross revenue, for the city of Lawrence. If we were in Andover, it would be their gross for Andover, and so forth. Right. Lawrence's PEG funding for all 3 channels totals to be 3.5%. Instead of bumping it all the way up to 5, when the last licenses were signed, it was held at 3.5%, which has been for the last 20 years or so. And the way that 3.5% breaks down is 2% for the educational channel and 1.5% for the public and government. Right, so basically what happens is the school department gets 2% and we get 1.5%. Now then, this is going to be hard to see.
Oh, that's nice. I'm going to finally be able to understand myself.
You understand yourself? Oh, yeah, okay. I don't know where the focus is on this thing. There. Okay, that's a little bit better. All right. This is my cable bill. All right. I know some of you have cable bills of $200 or $300 a month.
You
Huh?
some of your connections, man.
No, it's not. No. It's not nobody's connection. All right. This is what they call limited. They changed the name not too long ago, called limited basic, right? And what that is all the main channels that are broadcast live in the area, like 4, 5, 6, 7, and some of the others.
Channels, pretty much.
Yeah, the ones that are broadcast in the area, all right, live. So I get all those. This is my cable internet bill up here, so that doesn't even count. So what I pay for my basic TV service is $11.25 a month. And he thinks I got influence, but
No, I just, it's true what you say. You know what you know, you don't know what you know.
all right. The internet service is actually $56.95. All right. Now then, this here is $5. It's total other charges and credits. Now, believe it or not, Comcast and Verizon both would like to see your cable bill as low as they can possibly get it. Right? Yeah, I mean, because it's a way to do business. I mean, they don't want to lose money, but they'd like to see it as low as they can possibly get it. Right? Both of them have to pay those basic channels, like 4, 5, 6, 7, and all the rest of them, a fee to be able to broadcast.
Are those 4, 5, 6, 7 channels that you're referring to, aren't those considered off-air channels that you can pick up with an antenna?
Yes, sir.
So my question is, why do they have to pay, or we have to pay, and I'm not trying to be smart, I'm just trying to understand this, is if you have those channels that you could catch up an antenna, now you have the cable charge. Do they charge you for those 4, 5, 6, and 7 channels regardless? Even if they're, I can pick them up with an antenna?
Yeah, you have it. Yeah, that's your choice. Okay, because they charge you for that, but they also have to pay. They have to pay some amount of money to each one of those channels to be able to broadcast. Okay, but that's you just asked a very critical question. That's the difference between us and some nonprofit that's getting federal tax money or Massachusetts tax money, because this is not this what they're charging for the PEG channels is not really a tax. It's a fee, all right, and you don't have to pay it because you can go and get the satellite. You can get it off the air. Neither one of them costs you. Well, the satellite does, right? But you can pull it right off the air. All right, so you do not have to go to Comcast to watch video. You do not have to go to Verizon to watch TV. You got all kinds of options. So if you don't like this, you can go someplace else.
And now you have that
Right.
option.
All right, so let's just do all the blue arrows. This one down here is the FCC regulatory fee. All right, that's what the FCC charges. $1.02 per subscriber per year charges Comcast just because it's the FCC. They need some money to regulate everything, right? The same thing basically is true for the next blue line down here, is the mass license fees, right? Lawrence gets 50 cents a year per subscriber, and the state gets 80 cents per year per subscriber, right? Just to manage things, just like the FCC fee. So Lawrence gets some money just to sort of watch over the license agreement, because the license agreement is with the city, right? And the state gets some, because they have some people to pay too.
Sure. So what is actually, and you have to break it down for the 50 cents per subscriber, what in terms does that translate to services from the city of Lawrence to our subscriber? Or it's just an oversight to make sure that your channel is up and running, the coaxial.
It's a management fee, basically. It's a management fee for the city.
What's the scope of work for that?
There is none. Okay, at least I haven't been able to find one. There is no for that. It's just a same with the FCC regulatory fee. They're management fees, all right, because they got to look over the license agreements and so forth. The one that's really important, the one that pays for us in the school department and City Hall, is this red one, all right? 72 cents on my bill. Now that's going to be a lot more if you got a $200 per month TV bill, right? 1.5% of that, approximately, it's a little less than 1.5, it's 1.475 or something, comes to LCAT, and 2% of that goes to the school department, and that fee also includes Comcast's cost for PEG, all right? Comcast has to manage all the facilities and so forth. If we call them to come fix something, all right, it's PEG, right? That gets billed back this way, yeah.
So, and I've been talking, I don't know if you guys hear me, but, so the 72 cents that they charge for franchise fees and the 1.5% that goes to Alcat, and again, and I apologize for my ignorance, but is that just fees for Lawrence?
That's
not
just,
Merrimack,
that's just for Lawrence, right,
subscribers?
right.
And a 2 point, same with the 2.0,
Yeah.
just Lawrence subscribers.
It's-
And that happens also in Methuen and North Andover, Lowell, same
Yeah.
concept.
Right, same process. Although,
Process.
yeah, but this instead of being 3.5%, could be 4 and up to 5 for some of the others, all right?
Is there a cap?
So, yeah, 5.
5%. 5%.
Yeah, that's by federal and state law. Federal regulations and state law. It's 5% cap. That's what it has been for the last 20 years, right? Any other questions?
I actually don't feel that bad now, really, honestly, because that was the whole time I see my bill, I'm always like, but being that you broke it down like this, I'm able to understand that, okay, you know, I mean, there's regular fees anywhere, any other industry that you go to, so.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Questions? Okay.
Oh, sorry, I'm the mic guy.
Yeah, he's the mic guy. You don't even use the mic.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Right. Okay, so what's that mean to us? All right, from Comcast, our Comcast funding, all right, and is for the duration of the license, all right, which is November the 5th, 2014, is going to expire on November the 6th, 2017. It's a 3-year and 1-day license, all right? Government regulations, the FCC regulations, the license agreement can be anywhere from 3 years up to 10. All right? When it was negotiated last time, the mayor decided he only wanted to do 3. So the Comcast license is 3 years, and it's going to expire next November.
So is there a reason why, the city would go with 3 versus the 10? Is it more bargaining tool at the 3 years, or would it have been more cost effective to do the 10 years versus the 3?
There is
my
no
questions.
bargaining.
Okay, there's no collective
All right.
bargaining.
The only thing that the city can negotiate, basically, is that 3.5%.
Roger.
All right. The FCC and the state regulations, once you have a license agreement with a cable provider, you're basically stuck with that cable provider, right? Because they have infrastructure they put money into and so forth, all right?
With the wire, coaxials.
Whenever you get around to negotiating, whew, right? I've negotiated a lot of contracts, but never anything like this. When you get around to negotiating, the things you can't do, you can't negotiate programming, you can't negotiate cost, right?
So
So if you can't
negotiate
if you
at all.
can't negotiate what product you're getting and you can't negotiate cost, what is left?
So that's not a negotiation, that's more of a dictatorship.
Right. It's there's not much left. The only thing left is that franchise fee, all right? And we're down to 3.5% now,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
So the license agreement that was signed, and it's not really 1.5% for Comcast, it's 1.475. I don't know how they came up with that number, but that's the number, 1.475 instead of 1.5 like on the previous slides. And that's a gross revenue for cable TV in the city of Lawrence, not internet or anything else, the gross for cable TV, right? It includes all their income for cable, all their commercial fees they get and so forth, right? There's a whole rack and stack of things that makes that gross.
And it's gross, not.
It's
that's
gross.
revenue?
It's gross revenue, right? Okay. And for us, under whatever their gross revenue is right now, we get approximately $55K quarterly from Comcast. I got the numbers for you. You don't have to do that.
Thank you.
Verizon, right, funding for LCAT. The license for Verizon was signed on May 8th, 2007, and therefore it expires on May 8th, 2017, not too far off. All right, and it's 1.5 for Verizon's Lawrence cable TV gross. And that is approximately $27K quarterly.
Not a lot of Verizon users around here, is there? Not a lot of Verizon users in the city of Lawrence?
I don't know.
Well, 27K
Yeah,
versus 55K.
All right, so now then, this is what you were going to try to figure out.
Yes, I was. Thank you.
All right, this is our estimated income and expenditures for 2016. All right, Comcast and Verizon funds, all right, and this is an estimated number, is $327,859.63. Right? I like to carry things out to the pennies. All right, now, we haven't got to the end of the year yet, so we haven't got our final quarterly payment yet. So that's why it's an estimated number, right? I took the actual numbers up till the 1st of October and estimated what we were going to get in November. Right? Yeah, our other income is from membership, training, and miscellaneous, whatever that is. And that's $6,937. Right? We got to look at that a little bit because $5,783.99 of it down on the bottom was a refund from the IRS for our medical insurance. Right? So we actually grossed, I don't know, whatever it is, about $1,000, $1,200 from the membership, the training, and miscellaneous. Right? Our expenditures through September were $201,391.78. Our projected expenditures for the rest of the year are $67,130, which gives us a total projected for the end of the year of $268,521.78, which looks like it gives us a surplus for the end of the year at $66,274.85. And that is at December 31st.
Yeah.
All right. Our next quarterly payment, which is not in here, is in February the 15th, 2017. Right? So that money has to not extend to that period of time, to middle of February next year. So it's not really 66,000 that we have as surplus. It's actually something more like 22,000. In case you want to spend any more money.
Yeah.
You ready?
Yeah. So we'll have a little bit more money to spend. That's good.
Yep. All right, who can use LCAT facilities and equipment? Residents of Lawrence and individuals employed in Lawrence who have completed Lawrence LTC, Lawrence Community Access Television training, and have paid up their membership. Right?
Good to go.
If you
Hey, who designed the logo?
Altamar
Good job, Altima.
and Jenny.
Good job, Jenny. It's a good. It's a nice logo.
Okay, and annual membership dues. All right, we have an associate membership that's $25 per member and does not include the use of the studio and our equipment, right? And in other words, the field equipment that we loan out, they can't use that. They can't use the studio facilities. And this is somebody outside of the studio, has the equipment, does the video, all right, and wants us to play it, broadcast it. Right, so that's an associate member. Like a lot of the churches that have their own equipment, produce their own shows, right? Just bring us a DVD.
Oh, so most of the God shows that you have, or the church shows, they're taped somewhere else?
Yeah,
Oh, I thought they all
No,
go to here.
we have a lot of our shows are done somewhere else, right? And they're just brought in. For that reason, the quality sometimes varies a little bit, but, depending on what kind of equipment they're having and whether they're using high def, whatever. Full membership, where you want to use our studio and our equipment, is $40 per single adult, $15 each for senior or child, right? And $40 for a family, 2 adults and 2 children. Our nonprofit organizations is $55, and they can have up to 4 members, right? And additional members on top of that is $10.
So Ginny, what am I, did I sign up as a nonprofit?
You're a board member.
Oh, no, when I first initially paid to, after you started producing the show, I remember I paid for becoming a member, but I don't recall.
A member because
Roger.
if you came in as a nonprofit, it would make sense because it's just.
Nope, just curious.
Okay, and if you're a cable subscriber, they give you a $5 discount.
Well, then you owe me $5. Well, it says it right there. I'm just like going by what it's saying.
Any questions? Okay. Now,
What a troublemaker.
how does our show get to your TV set? Okay, here we are. This is any one of the 3 PEG channels, right? Either us, City Hall, or the school department, right? And right now with Comcast, what happens is there is a thing that nobody uses much anymore. It's called an institutional network. It's a separate network, coaxial cable, right? That's how our signal gets to Comcast. Originally, it was for all kinds of things, like the school department used it to keep track of all their attendance reports and so forth and all that sort of stuff. They have their own
Coaxial,
system.
not fiber optic that's
It's,
coming through?
yeah, it's coax, right?
Okay.
I'll tell you about that in a little bit. All right. So we send our signal out to Comcast, all right? And then of course we have them coming back to us so we can look at it, okay?
See it.
Their signal coming back is blue, which is fiber optic,
Roger.
until it gets to the pole out here. All right? And when it gets to the pole, then it converts to
Coaxial.
coax. The same thing is true at your house, right?
Okay.
Comcast has fiber optic throughout the city,
Yep.
all right, up to the pole. All right, so from the pole to your house, it's coax, which really doesn't make much difference. All right, if you listen to all the commercials on TV and radio and so forth, one of them says our signal travels at the speed of light.
Because of
All
that
right,
fiber.
everything up here travels at the speed of light. This signal going across this piece of coax travels at the speed of light. All right, so it doesn't make that much difference as far as how fast it's getting through the network. All right, there's some other things that slow things down,
Yeah.
but it's not the signal passing down the wire or over the fiber optic cable.
Gotcha.
All right, now then, what happens is we do not send our signal directly to Verizon. All right, we send it to Comcast. Comcast then sends it to Verizon. All right? From Verizon, it goes fiber optic to your house, maybe.
So why Comcast and not why directly to Verizon?
Because
I'm
Verizon
just
doesn't
curious.
Verizon doesn't have any cable here.
Oh, their fiber optic and all the coaxial belongs to Comcast?
No. They do not have any cable, fiber optic cable service to this part of the city.
So again, that's what I'm saying, it belongs to Comcast. So does Comcast like sub it out to them and charge them certain percentage for using?
Yeah,
Oh, figures, yeah,
okay.
of course.
Verizon pays Comcast for the signal.
Gotcha.
Comcast, we cannot get this signal here. Right? They don't have the cable here. All right, what they do, we can get a dish. Right? In other words, for the city of Lawrence, this only covers part of the city of Lawrence. The rest of the city of Lawrence is covered by the dish.
Why is that, Jim? I mean, it's because of the rest of the
They just
cities that
didn't
they're
run the
trying to
cable.
cover don't.
They didn't run the fiber optic cable, evidently.
Gotcha,
right?
to that part, okay.
Okay.
But
So-
Comcast could reach anybody in the city though, right? Without
Comcast
that
reaches
satellite?
reaches virtually everybody in the city via, their fiber optic
or-
system,
of
yeah.
course. Roger.
all right, now, we have people that complain about our signal.
LCAT?
Yeah, being black and white, and the audio is no good, and they're constantly complaining about that. All right, just think what happens to the signal. All right, we generate a signal here, it goes down this institutional network. Now, the institutional network is miles long, all right? So the signal drops off, it's attenuated as it goes down that cable. So every so often, they have to put an amplifier in here.
Yeah.
Right, keep the signal boosted so that when it reaches the head end over in the industrial park.
Yeah, it's still the same megahertz system.
All right. Once it reaches Comcast, all right, what do we broadcast on channel, is it 3? Our modulator, what channel is it on?
I think it's 6.
You think it's 6? Okay.
60s.
All right, we broadcast on what is basically channel 6. All right, it goes to Comcast. They take the signal, the signal off the modulation, demodulate it. They process it, right, jack up the audio and the video and whatever to meet their specifications. Right, so there's some processing that goes on in here. Right, then they rebroadcast it back out to the subscriber. And they send it to
At
Verizon.
a more defined signal than
Yeah.
what it originally
Yeah.
came in.
Right. They play it a little bit because
Yeah.
they can't rely on us necessarily having the right ratios of video and audio and so forth. So they deprocess it and then,
Sure, calibrate whatever.
yeah,
they need to calibrate.
do whatever they have to do with it, put it back out. And when they put it back out, right, they send it to Verizon. Verizon does the same thing with it. So there's a whole lot of difference between the signal we produce here and the signal that gets back out to your house. Because there's a lot of electronics equipment and a lot of cables, a lot of amplifiers, even these fiber optic cables have amplifiers in them
I've seen a lot.
because there is some attenuation. Okay? So what you may be receiving at your house is not necessarily
What you're putting out.
what we're putting out. Right? But we get blamed for it anyway.
Of course.
Of course. Right? Because nobody understands that. All right. Now, one way, let me go back. Okay. One way to check to see what kind of signal this is, you can check that very easily if you have internet. And what you do is you go to our website. All right? Once you get to our website, you click on this little arrow right here, and the video starts playing. And that's what we're broadcasting at that very moment.
Why don't you put it to a test now? Why not?
So, well, yeah, you can go and get to it.
Put it to a test.
All right? So, if you do that and the signal is good there, then the problem is somewhere between us and Comcast or Verizon. And we don't fix their stuff. If you see something bad here, then you call 978-686-9030 and leave a message, or if nobody is here, and we'll fix it.
So I have audio issues, I have flickering issues, or pixel issues.
Yep, that could be your connection too.
Oh, okay.
But normally it's good, right?
Well, it's starting to, now I think, pick up some pretty good signal. Just, I didn't know the audio was
Yeah.
working on mine. Oh, that's why.
The other thing that you can do, the other thing that you can do while you're on this website is you can click on that little YouTube thing up there and pull up all the videos that we have on YouTube.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Man, so I just,
Or you can click on here and you can go to the Facebook page.
yeah.
Eh,
You know how many steps I was doing just to get a YouTube out?
okay.
Oh,
And the other thing, one of the very important things on this website, all right, if you have any problems with what it is that I said about all the regulations and so forth, if you go down here, it's a little bit off the screen here, but there's Cable Telecommunication Commission, all right? You click on that, and what that does, that takes you straight to the state's television website, commission website. And you can get all the laws, all the rules, and all kinds of information. Like, what do you do if you have a problem with your television service, and that sort of thing. There's a whole list of,
Consumer Affairs and Business Regulation,
yep,
Consumer Right Fact Sheets,
right, all that stuff.
Cable Advisory Committee, Cable Installations, Cable Programming, Cable Television Billing.
For you people that don't know, JT is looking at all this on his cell phone. He says, well,
Well, you know, why not? Why better? No better than
they don't know why you're babbling, okay, because they can't see you, but
But
you,
there is a lot of, I just did the,
yeah,
I just clicked on the corner there where you were saying,
Yeah.
and it brought me to the Massachusetts, mass.gov. And then for the consumer rights facts of obviously business regulations.
Right.
And there's just a host of stuff about cable TV, converters, regulations, and all. So pretty cool. Thank you for that.
you're welcome.
'Cause now I'm gonna go read up on it and then harass you later on about it. I'm just kidding, man.
Okay, as usual,
Yeah.
All- all the three PEG channels in the city of Lawrence are pretty much the latest hardware, right? Latest equipment. The school department's up high def, right? They were running digital internally in the studio. The
Council?
city council, all they have to do is flip a switch on the cameras. All we have to do is flip a switch here, and we could be going out digital, right, in high def. Right? Comcast and Verizon do not broadcast the PEG channels digital format, right? They're still analog. Oh, let me put that differently. They broadcast it maybe in digital, but we have to send it to them in analog, right? And that's the end. Does anybody have any questions at the end?
Good job. You know, I thank you because that breaking out that bill, and now I could just, take it a little
Yeah.
easier. 'cause
The
I
Verizon
come
bill,
see
the
it.
Verizon bill should be very similar. I don't have a Verizon bill, or I'd put that up too, but, right? Going back just a minute. Let me talk about this a little bit. Right. We would like to see this institutional network replaced with digital. All right, for the simple reason that the digital signal is a little bit more reliable, right? It's not so much subject to noise and amplifiers going down and that sort of thing, right? In fact, when the mayor negotiated the last license agreement, one of the things that wanted to happen is for this to become fiber optic.
So I used to be a technician for Comcast, and before I left, I don't know what happened, but I know that before we left, we had to take this schooling, we had to go to New Hampshire and teach you about fiber optics and all that. And just before I left, they were in agreement to start laying out fiber optic, and that was years ago. So
Yeah, well,
that never happened.
the subscriber network is fiber optic. This is separate.
Okay, the institutional network.
The institutional
So,
network is.
coax.
Yeah. The rest of it is all fiber optic,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
But the institutional network is still coax, right? It's a separate network.
Yeah, no, I understand that now, but I'm
Okay.
saying they went through all that money, throwing all that money
And-
to replace it. To replace the fiber optic, I'm just surprised why they.
The,
continued on.
they, when the last license agreement was negotiated, all right, they wanted at least, Comcast wants at least 3 years or more license agreement before they change this.
It's because it's not cost effective for them to do it anything less than that?
Well, no, the cost
It's gonna
for
be-
doing that is billed back to the subscriber anyway, as part of the franchise fee, right? Their excuse primarily is that it takes that long to get it scheduled, to be done, get a team in, all right, and if they get something scheduled, let's say they schedule it now to change it, for first year, day one on the 3-year contract, all right, and they schedule it to be, because they have a lot of work to do, they schedule it for 2.5 years, right, to be done at that point in time. Then what's going to happen, what happens if we have a hurricane?
Okay.
They're going to be out repairing the subscriber network. They're not going to have time to do that, right? And maybe before they can get back into scheduling that, what we'll call an institutional network, it's not what they call it anymore. Before they get back to replacing that, the contract's up. The other thing that they would like to see, what they do is the cost for doing it, for changing this, right, is they amortize that over the life of the contract, right? And bill it back to the subscriber in that PEG fee, because that's strictly PEG, right? So if they just amortize it over that 3-year period of time, guess what happens to that PEG fee? It goes up a little bit. But if they can amortize it over a 10-year period of time, the increase is not as much per year, per bill. Yeah, and even though they add interest to it because it's money they committed, right? Even if they only add, if they do add, they will add the interest to it. But if it's still amortized over a longer period of time, it's not as much impact on their bottom line bill to you.
So a lot of our Comcast right now, based on what you're saying, unless they get a contract that exceeds the 3 years,
Yeah,
that's
right.
never going to happen.
Right, and if you remember what I said before about negotiating,
Well, you said there's no negotiation.
there's no negotiation, so what makes the difference whether it's a 10-year or a 3-year
Yeah.
period, right? 10 years is better for the subscriber in the long run, right? Because it takes all that PEG
Franchise
fees
fees and all
and
of
spreads it out over a longer period of time, right? So your monthly bill is not impacted as much.
What would be the logical reason why our present mayor or the past mayors haven't done a 10-year?
Oh, they've been in the past, it's always been a
It
10.
has
Yeah,
always been 10
yeah.
years? Is this just recent? That
Mhm,
just
this-
done
this-
it
yeah.
Gotcha. Fair enough.
And I won't comment on why.
I mean, to be
But,
professional,
yeah, well, a lot of
As a
people.
city, as a resident and a citizen of the city.
One of the people, there was a public meeting, okay, and one of the comments was, well, gee, if it's a 10-year period, we're stuck, right? We'll never get them to do anything. We'll never get Comcast to do anything if we go for a 10-year period. we won't be able to negotiate anything for another 10 years. Well, you're not negotiating anything anyway. All right? So it doesn't matter whether it's a 10-year, 5-year period. You cannot negotiate programming. You cannot negotiate digital. You cannot negotiate high def. The only thing you can do, right, is you can suggest, well, I would like to have some programming in Portuguese, or I want soccer games to be covered, right? But it doesn't guarantee you're going to get them, right? Because that is a business decision by the cable provider. And you're not going to get them to, unless they just you fall in love with you for some reason, you're not going to get them to do that. And they're not going to commit to it, because once they committed to it for the city of Lawrence, they got to commit to the same thing for Methuen and Andover in the world. Yeah, set the precedence.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Okay,